user empathy, and understanding of the market. Product managers, their core talent is building for users. And the build for yourself approach, it creates a paradox that says that you already have access to the perfect user, but that user may have limited market perspective. And that's okay if you super niche down.
This is where it's absolutely critical to make sure you validate at least some of the early ideas, right? Because you could just end up on a tangent and build the best thing there is, but nobody's buying it.
Right. And I'm definitely not buying it. I mean, so right away in the against, I'm going to throw out some against points to kind of kick us off here, which is the main point I'm trying to make is that building for yourself, it can destroy your perspective of the market right away. Let me just throw that one out there. So it creates like all of the most dangerous assumptions that you make because you represent your market segment. Oh, I'm a journalist, so I know like what tools journalists need. I'm going to double down and just build great journalism tools, while the broader journalism market kind of keeps disintegrating, and like there's no money to buy in it. Everyone's independent. There's no money to buy anything.
Right.
So your experience that helps you make those assumptions, although they are informed, it might lose a broader market context. That's what I mean by market context.
Yeah. So you could fail potentially, right? But you're failing quickly. And you got to then take some time out to understand what just happened here, right? Because if you just move up and say, hey, listen, I know now, I've learned about X, whatever it is, and move on to the next product, you're destined to repeat your mistakes.
Yeah, and you know the other thing, yes, and
I like it.
I did this a couple of podcasts ago. In our yes and portion of the podcast today, you definitely might fall into that trap, but also you might end up building products that do work, but they only work for like the most powery of power users, the most powerful power users, and then fail with mainstream adoption. And then, like, is that enough money to, you know what I mean? So, yeah, you've exploited your expertise to build to the niche, but now you've niched down too much. Your personal preferences turn into your requirements. Doing it without market validation gets you in trouble. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's really just a pet project at that point, right? And so you're building something. If you do happen to hit even that, the power user market or whatever it might be, great. But is it great? Because now your product's out there and your competitors could swoop in, right? Take the technology you've got pretty much.
So there was a side tangent that got cut out of the podcast where I was looking for a clip from Jeffrey Bezos about how long it took the competition to respond to different products and offerings they came out with. I remember the clip very well because he was surprised that it took them like a couple years to come up with. I think 2 years was the average he said in that clip of how long it took his competitors to respond.
That is longer than I would have expected.
So that was his viewpoint. Nothing that you build is going to be unique for very long because everyone will come along and copy it. I think about this as market segmentation, and I'm always like banging that drum, market segmentation. I was like, what feature can we come up with that differentiates ourselves in the market, cuts the market in half and be like, well, now the market is really not shared by all these people. We cut the market in half and the market is ours alone until everybody catches up to us, and then we move on. You know what I mean? Move on and keep dividing and conquering.
So you got to keep innovating the whole time.
Yeah, well, that was his point in that video. You do need to stay ahead, but you need to foster the culture that stays ahead. In order to do that, you have to constantly be doing user research, user validation, data-driven decision-making. You kind of need to be looking back at your decisions and seeing which ones were good, which ones are bad, which ones you use data for, which ones were an assumption. And right there, most mature companies don't even do that.
I agree. If you're one of those people that is going to build everything yourself, one of the critical things you should really prioritize to learn is exactly that, right? Get validation of your assumptions. You need to actually learn all of those things that come later, though. You're in this speed thing now, right? So you're building something, but I think getting the head start in the right direction is key instead of just getting a head start.
Speed's super important.
I'm not denying it.
There's a lot of people on the internet right now, especially with AI tools, saying speed's the only thing.
Build it and they'll come.
It was the dumbest take of 2025 until like the next week after I edited the podcast and I put it up, and then I saw another take that was even dumber. Oh, 996 Silicon Valley. Yeah. You guys are importing China's hustle grind culture now. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel at this point. What's next? Oh man. Positives in this category, like the 4.
You already started on one of the 4s, right? It's speed. You're learning a lot of stuff real quick, and that just is unbeatable. The other option is you just go through the mill and hope for the best, right?
That's right. This should be a benefit. I was just talking to somebody I used to work with about growing an organization. Scaling. We don't call it scaling. It's called growth. You need a special growth product manager for that. I was talking to her about scaling, saying that when the org grows, there needs to be some time put into figuring out how do we keep the team small? How do we put groups of teams together in programs that logically make sense and they're not silos?
Right.
You know, they work together. Reporting lines kind of need to be figured out, that kind of stuff. Because one hiring manager supports 5, 6, 8 teams. Like, there's an upper limit. So if the person that hires all your engineers goes across 50 teams? I mean, that's a little ludicrous. Comes time for performance, they're like, who are you? Where do you work?
Exactly. Yeah, and we've all seen that, especially mid to large orgs.
And one of the things I told her was I always have lobbied every place that I worked to have the development team be talking directly to customers. And if the org has grown to a point where you're getting further away from customers because of bureaucracy, well, now we want to break that org structure and get back to a little of that small company kind of mentality. This is like always a push and pull with big companies, access to users. I bring that up because it reinforces there's no translation layer between the customers and the actual people building the software. If you're the one building the software and you're building it for yourself, there's no translation. Your product decisions, speed, user feedback, that kind of stuff, it's immediate. Every pain that your customer would feel, you're experiencing firsthand. You get immediately reviled by failures or quirky functions or bad UX or whatever.
Yeah, and guess what? Now you learn another skill, right? Prioritization.
That's right. Ruthless prioritization.
Yeah,
because again,
absolutely.
If you're the solopreneur over here and you're building everything yourself.
Well, how many things can you be working on?
If I had a suggestion, this is not really a takeaway, but I guess it is a takeaway in the form of a friendly suggestion. You know what really helps? I know you're building it for yourself and you're developing those product management muscles. However, it would still be good, even if you're building it for yourself and nobody else sees you, it still would be good to reach out to those forums, like reach out to say, hey man, can I have some of your time to just review your backend tools with me so you can see what I'm working on and see what you would do. Well, maybe like out of 10 people, 2 of them give you their time. But still, even if they're not using it, that's still, like, to me, those kind of conversations are the gateway to opening up new business. You know, that's been every software firm I've been at. We have little conversations like that, and you uncover big new features, new paths to the application, new ways forward that were previously completely obscured or invisible to you because you just weren't thinking about that until you got enough people together in the room that had the same problem.
I think that's a great takeaway, if that's what we're calling it, right? Because these other people that you're reaching out to, they would be able to input into your thinking things that you haven't thought about. It's because you're assuming things, and you basically have a blinkered view of what you're building. So they might be able to come up with something, and whatever they come up with, that's going to be very refreshing for you to see and take in and say, yeah, I didn't consider that. So I think if you're building it yourself, it doesn't necessarily mean you're by yourself, right? You could build a coalition of people that share perhaps some interest in this.
Right.
And they don't necessarily all have to have the same challenges, right? Mm-hmm. But they share an interest, which is good. They bring in all these diverse perspectives that otherwise you wouldn't be privy to.
So user empathy, it gets complicated when you're doing it on your own because you have to kind of go out of your way. Oh, you can just build features. Like, you don't need to talk to anyone. So it's a bit complicated to try to convince somebody that is building something for themselves that, like, oh, you should go out and talk to other users because the insights you get from them can help you. And someone who doesn't come from product management, like, that might be a difficult thing to convince them of.
Sure.